What's up everyone, it's DarkSpyro here, and today we've got another Rocket Buster Blader profile for you. I know that Master Duel recently came out, so I've got my deck kind of tailor-made for Master Duel, so if you want to copy this card for card and throw this into Master Duel, you can. In fact, this is the deck that I used to get to Platinum 5 in Master Duel. It's actually fairly budget. I haven't put a dime into Master Duel. It stays true to the TCG Ban List. There's no cards like Maxx C, and there's very few hand traps. With all of this out of the way, it's time to dive on into the first deck profile of 2022. Let's start off this deck profile with the Buster Blader core, and you can't play Buster Blader without the main man himself, Buster Blader. We're playing 2 copies of Buster Blader and 1 copy of the Retrain. I have not changed this ratio since Master Duel has dropped, so right from day 1, 2 and 1 has been doing good enough for me. And of course, the core searcher for the deck, we got triple copies of Buster Whelp of the Destruction Swordsman. Buster Whelp is self-explanatory, it's your core searcher, he's a good combo extender, does a lot of things, so triple copies never hurts. You want to see this as often as possible. And for the last 2 monsters here, we have 1 copy of Dragon Buster Destruction Sword and 1 copy of Wizard Buster Destruction Sword. For about 95% of the games I've played on Master Duel, I've needed both Dragon Buster and Wizard Buster. So the graveyard is a scary place right now in Master Duel, so Wizard Buster is really good at shutting down all the monsters in your opponent's graveyard. Even if that isn't the case, your opponent does not rely on their graveyard. Wizard Buster also lets you recycle any Destruction Sword monster, including putting your Link, Protector Whelp back into the extra deck. And you can use Buster Dragon's effect to equip Wizard Buster from the graveyard, so you can also recycle this card. And Dragon Buster is self-explanatory, it's extra deck block, and it has a special summon effect from the equip position, so that you can easily go into synchro plays and all that other fun stuff. Moving on into the back row section of our Buster Blader core, we got triple copies of Prologue of the Destruction Swordsman. I swear to God, every time I've resolved Prologue so far in Master Duel, people have surrendered or they just have no idea what's going on and they lose anyways. Currently I'm 31 and 12 on Master Duel, so yeah, Buster Blader is absolutely dominating for me, and yeah, most of that is thanks to Prologue. Of course, if you're playing Prologue, you need Destruction Sword Memories, and I'm playing 2 copies of Memories. I like running 2 Memories because if you ever open a Prologue in a Memories and you only have 1 Memories, that Prologue is now dead because you need to be able to send Memories from your deck. You can still activate Prologue as long as you have any other Destruction Sword cards in there, but to do the full combo, you need Memories in the graveyard, and if you can't pitch it to grave, it's stuck in your hand, yeah, you're gonna have a bad time. So I just like making sure I have 1 Memories in the deck almost at all times, and if you brick on both of them, you can set one, send the other, special a Blader, now you have 2 Memories in your graveyard, so it doesn't really hinder you that much to have 2. And the last traps for the Buster Blader core are Destruction Sword Flash. So I keep calling Prologue the win button, but I think I'm gonna have to nickname Flash the overkill button, because every single time I have flip flashed on my opponent, they have surrendered immediately. That's not a joke. I have used Flash at least 10 times to win duels in Master Duel right now, so do not sleep on this card. If you don't know what it does, it simply says if you control a fusion monster that lists Buster Blader's material, banish all monsters your opponent controls. Yeah, and if that doesn't win it for you, the other effect is also going to save your bacon, because while this card's in your graveyard, the effect is when a card or effect is activated that targets a Buster Blader monster or monsters you control, except during the damage step, you can banish this card from your graveyard, negate the effect, and if you do, destroy that card. So it's very good protection, and if your opponent is unaware that it's there, they might target your Blader Fusion or even just the regular Blader for any whatever card, does not matter, and they're going to get nuked for it. So yeah, don't sleep on Flash. It has won me many games from the protection effect and of course the banish effect, since it's non-targeting banish removal, and it always gets your opponent by surprise. I love it. So yep, 2 Destruction Sword Flash. And the last Buster Blader card is Destruction Swordsman Fusion. I was playing Karma a little bit, but you don't really need it if you're playing Wizard as well. Karma is essentially just Call by the Grave anyways, that gives you an attack boost, and it doesn't negate the opponent's monster effects that you banish. So personally, I just like Fusion because it's a good super poly, and if you dump it with Protector Whelp's effect, you can bring it back to your hand by discarding a card, so it unbricks you. And I've showed people this combo multiple times, where it actually helps you go into many crazy plays without even actually needing to use the fusion effect. But that's it for the Blader core. We got the Rocket package next, and this is fairly basic. We got 1 copy of Absol Router, and 1 copy of Rocket Synchron. Normally I like playing multiple Rocket Synchrons, but I'm not actually using my typical War Arthau package. I didn't really need it in Master Duel. So this is what I ended up running with, just 1 Absorider, 1 Rocket Synchron. Of course, that's not all the rockets I'm playing though. We're playing the 4 packages as well. We got 2 Rocket Tracer, 1 Rocket Recharger, and 1 Silver Rocket Dragon. You can honestly play triple Tracer if you want to, and it's kind of sad that there's no Rocket Caliber inside Master Duel, but I find Rocket Recharger is a must if you're going to be using Rocket Tracer, and since I'm using 2, I kind of wanted another 4-star target, so I grabbed Silver Rocket just because it has 1900 attack. And with Boot Sector Launch on the field, he turns into a 2200 attack monster, which isn't bad for 4-star. Of course, Silver Rocket's mostly just here as a way to go into a Synchro, and if he gets targeted by a Link monster's effect, say Striker Dragon, you can choose to pop himself and then banish a card from your opponent's extra deck, so it's very good at finding out what they have, and if they have a Choke Point card in there, you can just straight up banish it before they even get a chance to use it. But that's it for the Rocket monsters. And probably the best extenders in our whole deck, we got our triple Quick Launch and 1 Boot Sector Launch. This is just standard Rocket tech, nothing special. Okay, let's go into the extenders next, and we'll kick this off with the monsters first, I guess. We got 1 copy of White Dragon Wyverburster and 1 copy of Black Dragon Collapse Serpent. So in Master Duel, these cards are unlimited. You can play 3 and 3 if you really want to, but for space reasons and because I don't really want to brick on these, just 1 of each is more than enough. We also got 1 copy of Mono Dragon Zernatron. Zernatron's kind of a hand trap too if your opponent decides to pop your back row, which kind of happens often in Master Duel. Since there's no side decking, people try to put their back row hate inside their main deck now. So Zernatron does come up if you brick on him and he's in your hand, but if he's not in your hand, his real purpose is he's a 6-star that you send off of Shooting Riser Dragon's effect, turn Shooting Riser into a level 1, so he's just part of our combo. I also like Zernatron because once he's dumped into the graveyard, his effect also works from grave just like from hand, so if your opponent tries to pop your back row, you can just special summon Mono Dragon Zernatron to the field from your hand or graveyard, and you get to set a new one from your graveyard or the banish zone. It's actually a good way at setting multiple in perm or even putting Prologue back down if it got negated, so yeah, Zernatron, pretty good. We also have 2 copies of Noctovision Dragon. Noctovision is self-explanatory. He's a level 7, he's a dragon, he's a free special summon on board, he helps you draw cards, helps you protect your back row if it's set, but for all its good uses, I wouldn't play triple because then it gets a little bit too bricky, but 2 copies still good enough in a 40 card deck for me. And the last 2 monsters in the whole deck are Black Metal Dragon and Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon. This is just a free Erratic Seal of the Heavenly Spears, and of course that card is great in Eruption. And if you don't use this combo to go into seals, then you can always special summon Darkness Metal off of Erratic Seals so that on your next turn you can special summon more dragons. But that's it for the monsters. We have 2 copies of Chaos Space here. So after a couple of games, I noticed that I was seeing Chaos Space a little bit too frequently. If you have no monsters in your hand or just too many copies of this card, it can actually kind of hurt you a bit, but it's not a bad card at all if you can get it into the graveyard or if you can actually resolve its effect. So 2 copies of Chaos Space is actually great. And for our last extender, we have 1 copy of Monster Reborn. So there was a time where I was using War Arthau or World Legacy Guard Dragon or both throughout my time in Master Duel, but I ended up just settling for the 1 copy of Monster Reborn. It actually helps quite a bit. Most of the time I ended up reviving something from my opponent's grave just to kind of like mess with their strategy, so you can actually put anything here, but like I said, Monster Reborn is just really funny to use. So to round off the extenders, we have 1 trap here. We got 1 copy of Trap Trick. Trap Trick is essentially just another copy of Prologue in the deck, but it can also turn itself into something like Destruction Sword Flash, or one of these copies of my triple Imperm. Like I just said with Trap Trick, you can either go into Prologue or Flash or bring out one of these. I like having 3, especially with Trap Trick, because if you have one in your hand and you have a Trap Trick set, you technically have 2 Imperms, which is pretty decent. But that's it for the main deck. Let's move on into the extra deck next. Let's start this off with the Link monsters first. We got 1 copy of Striker Dragon. I was playing Guard Dragon Pisty with this, but I never really used it, and it doesn't come up that often anyways, so took out the World Legacy Guard Dragon, took out the Pisty, and still just used Striker Dragon on its own. The next Link monster here is Erratic Seal of the Heavenly Spears. This card is great in Eruption, and it doubles as a combo extender, so yeah, you can take anything else here if you really want to. I just like having some protection against Nibiru, the Primal Being, not gonna lie. And like I said, it's good at special summoning from your deck as well, so not too bad. Our next Link 2 here is Protector Whelp of the Destruction Swordsman. So this was actually the very first Ultra Rare that I pulled out of of a pack in Master Duel, and when I seen it, I was like, this is a sign, I'm definitely building Blader. And Protector Whelp has never left the deck since. Of course, it is a great combo extender, helps set up your graveyard, so many uses. And I just can't imagine playing Blader without this card. Speaking of broken Link 2s, we have our last Link 2 here, Crystron Halki Fibrax. This is one of the most important cards in the extra deck, at least for my strategy, because it helps you just go nuts on your opponent's turn. And half the time, if you're going crazy on your opponent's first turn, they're going to scoop because they just want to play and they don't want nothing to do with you anymore. So of course Needle Fiber is great at bringing out a tuner from your deck, but what I really like about this card is the ability to synchro summon by banishing this card and bringing out a synchro tuner such as Shooting Riser. And the last Link monster here is BLS. That's right, Blackluster Soldier, Soldier of Chaos. This guy is an absolute powerhouse in Master Duel. If you use a level 7 or higher, this guy essentially just becomes Dragoon. He can't be targeted, can't be destroyed by card effects. He's a 3k beat stick with some pretty good effects, and it's Blackluster Soldier. Like, come on, what more do you want? This guy's always been a cool card. For the fusion monsters, we only have 2 here. We got Buster Blader, the Dragon Destroyer Swordsman. Obviously, the poster boy for the deck, and probably one of the scariest things most people are going to run into in Master Duel is if you're not prepared, the lockdown that comes from Buster Dragon and this guy. And before we close out this deck profile, we got our Synchro monsters here, and let's go from the lowest level to the highest. So we'll start this off with Shooting Riser Dragon. We use this card to go into more Synchro summons on our opponent's turn, and it helps us dump Mono Dragon Zernatron, bringing him from a level 7 to a level 1. Another good utility on Shooting Riser Dragon is that instead of dumping a level 6 such as Mono Dragon Zernatron, you can dump any card that is a level lower than 7. So if we dump Wizard Buster, he becomes a level 4, and we can tune him with another level 4 like one of the Chaos Baby Dragons, and go into a level 8 that way, while setting up our graveyard for Buster Dragon to equip a Wizard Buster. So yeah, pretty cool, pretty cool. Now let's go into the level 8 Synchros, and we have our Psyframe Lord Omega. Psyframe Lord Omega has 3 really good effects. One is a hand rip, one is to target a card in your banish zone and put it back. The other one is you can target himself and another card and put them both in the deck. Psyframe Lord Omega is actually nuts, so 1 copy of this. Of course, our main level 8 synchro is Buster Dragon. I was playing 3 copies of Buster Dragon for a bit, but I decided to mix it up a little bit, and I threw another level 8 in here instead. We have 1 copy of Borreload Savage Dragon. Borreload Savage Dragon, because obvious reasons, the level 8 gets Omni Negate. We have a bunch of links we can equip to him. Actually, I really like using Borreload Savage Dragon in Master Duel because I'm using Borreload Dragon as my dual mate, so whenever I bring out Savage, I just put him right beside the mate because, you know, it just looks fitting. Aside from the aesthetics, Savage Dragon is super good anyways, got an Omni Negate, so. Moving on into the Secret Spice, we have 1 copy of Beels of the Diabolic Dragons. So Beels of the Diabolic Dragons is actually really good. It can't be destroyed by card effects or battle, and each time you take damage from an attack involving him or from your opponent's card effect, Beels will actually gain attack equal to the damage that you took. So he's a real good thorn in your opponent's side, and he just keeps getting stronger if they don't know how to deal with it properly. We have 1 more Synchro 8 here, and I usually play Chaos Ruler, and if I play Chaos Ruler, I end up putting like a rank 8 such as Hope Harbinger Dragon or Divine Dragon Knight Felgrand. But the Secret Spice I'm playing is actually Crimson Blader. You'd be surprised how many decks play level 5 or higher monsters, and Crimson Blader just says no to all of them. Yeah, seriously, Crimson Blader's effect is when he destroys a monster by battle, your opponent cannot normal or special summon level 5 or higher monsters during their next turn. Considering that this is a Link era and there's a lot of these monsters, it's not super overwhelmingly strong, but he does stop a lot of decks in their tracks, so just for the theme of the deck and because he's a Blader, I'm playing Crimson Blader. And the last card in the extra deck, if you couldn't tell already, is obviously Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss. You can actually play multiples of this guy if you really want to. He is super good. He's a speed spell 2 quick effect that allows you to negate any face-up card your opponent controls, which is great if they're about to activate something you just say, no. You can also use many of our Synchro 8 monsters to go into him, and even on our opponent's turn with Shooting Riser and say like Borreload Savage or Beels or even Buster Dragon, yeah, you can go into this card, no problemo, and he's a 3200 beat stick, which is also a bonus. But that is it for the extra deck, and that concludes this deck profile. And that just about wraps up this video. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you really enjoyed it, please be sure to smash that thumbs up button, and maybe subscribe to the channel if this isn't your first time around and you want to see more content like this in the future. And of course, turn on the notification bell so that you know when more videos like this come out. But like always, everybody, I hope you all have a wonderful day.